What's up, everybody? Jordan Stewart here from Vover. Thanks so much for tapping into the Vover original show. Just a reminder that if you want to drop your opinions about the episode or respond to the host and guests with your voice, go and download the Vover app wherever you get your apps. Vover, voice over everything. Enjoyed the show.
It's time to level up with Dr. Mondo.
What is good, everyone? Welcome to another episode of Level Up with Dr. Armando. I'm your host, Dr. Armando Gonzalez, CEO and founder of Cheat Code and the Cheat Code Foundation. I'm so happy today to have today's guest with us. He is, whether or not he will ever call himself legendary, others will call him legendary. He's a legendary trainer that has managed to, as he even would self-proclaim, stay in the shadows when there's so many big trainers out there now that you hear their names. But when you look at the resume of today's guest, Travelle Gaines, he has trained and worked with all the big names. He may not be out there self-promoting because he's too busy doing the work. He is an incredible trainer to some of the best elite athletes that we have throughout the country in professional sports. But he's also an incredible human being. And I was really excited to have him on this podcast today to do what all of our guests do, which is share a bit of their story and share a bit of in their journey of leveling up, some of the things they had to go through. Now, Travelle could probably book, if he really wanted to, he could probably book about 2 hours of telling you his story. It's an incredible story. Today, we'll just dive into a little bit, and we'll also touch on the importance of why he's even making time for this podcast. And he doesn't do that a lot. Why he's making time for athletes' mental health. Because I can tell you, I have asked him to take numerous meetings, and he said yes to every single one, when this guy's calendar is literally jam-packed from 4:45 a.m. until sundown. It tells you the level of importance that he finds in this topic around athletes and mental health. We'll hear more about why that is here today on the podcast. Travelle, good morning to you, my man. How are you?
Good afternoon. I'm great.
Yeah, afternoon for Travelle. Just so we have some context here, it's 6:30 in the morning. This is afternoon for Travelle, because Travelle, what time you get up every morning? You were telling me this earlier.
4:45.
For how long?
Since
been doing that?
2004.
2004, man. I got so many questions for you. So little time, Travelle. Travelle, tell me just like your basic bio of who you are. You know, I know you intentionally you ain't out there self-promoting, but tell people more about who you are and what it is that you do.
Well, I'm Travelle Gaines, and I founded the company Athletic Gaines, which is a full-service sports performance facility that works on athletes on an individual basis and puts together their performance training, strength training, movement conditioning, body composition. Works directly with a in-house chef to make sure that their nutrition is at a level that is that gets them to their goals if they want to gain weight, lose weight, or maintain weight. And then from there, we also work even with their hydration levels to see how much caloric intake they're burning and how much fuel they need from a protein and carb level, and also from a hydration level. And that's what we do.
Again, you're going to watch me in this amount of time. You're going to listen to me pull some of this out of them. Travelle, you comfortable name some of the names of some folks you work with, or is that possible, just to kind of give people an idea?
Yeah. So from the NFL side, where I really cut my teeth at, I've had 5 number 1 overall picks for the NFL draft, 47 first round picks personally. And then during the time while I was at Exos as the director of elite athlete development, building out their baseball, football, and basketball categories, we have 150 kids drafted a year. Then from the football side, I've had everybody from Dak Prescott, Jalen Ramsey. I mean, we kind of you really name it. Kenny Galladay, Devontae Adams, Saquon Barkley, Todd Gurley. Just a plethora of athletes on that side. On the basketball side, I think a lot of attention has been put on the work we've done with Trey Young, Jimmy Butler, Pascal Siakam, Draymond Green, who's getting ready for the Olympic team right now. Then the baseball side had almost every key player on the Dodgers team that won the 2020 World Series. So we get a lot of athletes from the football, baseball, and basketball standpoint, and also soccer. Working with the 2012 MLS champion LA Galaxy, was featured David Beckham. And we also have a lot of international soccer players as well. So that's pretty much from the core sports, as well as a lot of celebrities and actors and entertainers also training at our gyms throughout Southern California.
People are hearing those names, I'm sure, and they're thinking to themselves, there's a common denominator with all those folks. They've all leveled up. I mean, especially those, like all the names, right? Obviously the MLB guys just won a World Series. The NFL guys, the resume speaks for itself. The NBA guys, it's really interesting because a lot of those names I could ask you questions about for hours, because some of those names are folks that really have probably exceeded expectations in many ways. And we know that anytime anyone exceeds expectations, we talk about that all the time. How do you pull the full potential out of someone, whether it's from the physical or the mental side? Obviously, the work that they've done with you and in your organization has obviously helped them so much. I'm sure in their quest to leveling up. So, Travelle, like I said, man, your resume speaks for yourself as much as it does for the athletes. Your story is so fascinating to me, man. Again, like you don't share it a ton, but I remember the first time that I met you in person, you invited me over and we had cigars at your house. Yeah. And man, if we would have had the podcast recording then, my gosh, the dialogue and the conversations we had just so rich and so good. And you shared so much with me. On this podcast, we talk often about how in the journey of leveling up, people just see the successes. They often don't see at times the struggles that occur behind closed doors. And we all are human and we all have them. And as a result, we don't talk about mental health struggles because it's not cool. It's not part of the journey of the Instagram post, which I know, again, you're not a big guy in the social media, in the self-promotion lane, but still, you've been through some things yourself in your journey of leveling up. It hasn't always been accolades. When you think of a time in your life where you were really tested mentally and emotionally, what's the first thing that jumps out to you?
Well, I think the biggest thing that even while I'm here, I was a strength coach at LSU, which was my dream job. I'm from Louisiana. My whole family lives in Louisiana. And at 24 years old, I was able to have my dream job, and I was fired from that job. And I had a kid by the name of Reggie Bush. I was playing for Northern Saints at the time, and we were really, really close. And he kept telling me, I'm bigger than LSU. I'm bigger than South Louisiana. And I didn't see past it. At the time I was staring at a leaf when I should have been looking at the forest. And I remember getting fired from LSU and thinking that my life was over. Matter of fact, the person that fired me, the athletic director, told me that my life was over. I'll never work again, and no one would never hire me. Wow. And I ended up on a blind leap of faith. I moved to California. And when I got to California in early 2008, I had no car. I had negative $17. I lived in a motel in a very seedy part of town. And I walked back and forth to the gym and pretty much survived off protein shakes and some of the athletes I was training willing to take me out to lunch or dinner. And it was a time where my faith was tested. Mentally, I was tested, and I decided to just power through it. And now, I kind of live a totally different life and a lifestyle that I would have never dreamed of living while I was in Louisiana. But not only that, I get a chance to have a bigger impact on not only teams, but entire organizations. And so, it all comes down to what you want to do and how you want to impact the world. And sometimes you might not see it, others might see it in others. And that's why your circle for you to keep around you from a personal and professional standpoint has to be on brand with what you're doing and have to give you the support that you need to sometimes push you to other levels or to see things in you that you don't see in yourself. And so I owe my whole entire career to Reggie Bush and also my whole entire career to getting fired from LSU. So I think I was making $36,000 a year at that time. And I don't make that anymore. But it was very mentally tough. And I think going through those things has helped prepare me and propelled me into helping these athletes conquer some of their biggest moments. Because a lot of guys, they might come to me saying, hey, I want to make the opening day roster, or I want to be a starter, or I want to be an all-star, I want to be in the conversations for MVP, or I want to be an MVP. Being able to constantly remind them of their goals and the levels they want to reach to, and constantly reminding them of what it takes in getting through the trials and tribulations is, I think, something I've been able to do with a lot of the athletes. And that's why I think I trained them for so long in their career.
Travelle, you just kind of glaze over it a bit. I'm going to have to kind of bring it back to it. Man, negative $17.
Yeah.
Living in your car, bro. Like what?
I didn't even have a car. I was walking. Yeah.
So where were you resting your head at night?
I lived in a motel.
Motel. That's right. You said that.
Literally, it was a motel. It was the cheapest motel I could find in Los Angeles. I think it was like $16 a night, and I paid it up for the month because I knew I was going to have money coming at the end of the month from training the athletes, and just that's what I did. It was rough. It was rough.
So I'm not going to even ask the question of yes or no. I know there were dark moments in that. What were some of the darkest moments, darkest thoughts that you had when you were going through that?
It was the doubt that, should I do this? I had a passion for it. And the funny part was, when I was at San Jose State as a student, I got accepted to grad school at Stanford. And I wanted to go to grad school, and my college strength coach saw something in me that I clearly didn't see, and convinced me to move back to Louisiana and be a strength coach for him, which I thought he was crazy. I thought it was a profession I never wanted to do, but he thought that I'd be really good at it. And so it was a lot of doubts. I wanted to be a school teacher. I wanted to be a superintendent. I wanted to be a high school principal, not in those steps, teacher, principal, superintendent. And I felt that was an easier path for my life, just to be in middle America and just work a 9 to 5. But I think that I'm glad that I stuck through it. I had a upbringing that made me very mentally strong. And then I was a person that always kind of hyped myself up and always encouraged myself, because the support wasn't always there from my family. Not that I had a bad family, but I had a family that had other stuff to worry about than, my baseball game or my football game or my track meets. And so it was a lot of self-doubt, but it also was a lot of self-encouragement. You might go to bed not feeling your worth, or you could do something, but then I always try to start off the day fresh with saying, all right, cool, I could do this, and kind of one day at a time. And again, I think that a lot of, I'm very relatable to the athletes that I train. I think that, in the sport, as I mentioned, football and basketball is dominated by African Americans. It's not a Black thing or it's a white thing. It's a relatability thing. So I know some Caucasian trainers that have tougher stories and are more relatable to some of the Black athletes than some of the Black trainers are. But I think always being someone that they can relate to, because I've been through a lot of stuff, and not being judgmental of anybody in any situation, and always being there for athletes through every moment, through their missed shots, their missed game-winning shots, their fumbles, and things like that, has really helped my client list gravitate towards me, then attract other players who see or understand our relationships. Like every single athlete that I trained has come as a referral to another athlete. So that's what kind of has got me through my times. And that's what
relatability.
Relatability.
It's the relatability of your story. Do you share your story often with athletes? I imagine then, early on when you're having conversations about potentially working together.
No, not really. I think that eventually over time,
more of a feeling that you guys can relate to each other, though. Yeah.
I think over time, and then just I pour so much into them. What? One thing I will say is, and this applies to just any profession or any life, I don't care what I'm going through. My life is not perfect. No one's life is perfect. But I think that I'm able to lock in for that hour when I'm training athletes that I'm training, and just give them everything I have, and they feed off my energy. And I think they need that, because when you're dealing with something where their body is their money bags, you can't let any feelings, doubt, anything that you had going in your life distract you from helping them get theirs, because they're there to have you be a part of their journey and help them to get to the levels they need to get to. And so again, it just really, I think it really helps out a lot. And the more the athletes understand me, I think the more they trust me and they keep coming back.
It's amazing, man, because the way that you talk about that, I haven't probably had such, deep conversations with personal trainers before, but that's the way that, I feel as a therapist too. Like, there are days where when I'm struggling, there's nothing I want to do more than just get in session, because it's like my brain, I've created the amount of importance and integrity and sacredness that I've put, as you put on these sessions. I know that my brain's going to block everything else out, and I'm just going to be able to focus on them. And when I leave, I'll feel productive. I'll feel better. I'll feel like my stuff's in a different space too. The part about the doing those, those pep talks for yourself, so to speak, that you did at a young age because there wasn't anyone else there to give it to you. Is that a trait that you think that, like, how do you make sense of that, man? Because there's so many people in similar situations that would have given up, that would not have been able to wake up and somehow find a way to give themselves those pep talks. How do you make sense of the fact that you were able to, despite those circumstances? Yeah.
I think that is God. I know that is God. I think everybody has something in them. Everybody has a path and a journey. And I think that since I was a young kid, I've been very goal oriented. And I think that I was put on this world to affect people. I think that you're judged at the end of the day by God, by not what you do for yourself, by what you do for others. And I think that just always trying to keep other people in mind, and knowing that I have a voice that, for whatever reason, that people listen to, it just really kind of helps me out and keeps me going. But again, since I was very, very young, I've been very motivated to always want to do more, to always have an impact on the world and have a positive effect on everybody that I reach. That's why, even, for example, every time you call or you want to meet, I meet. No matter how demanding it is on me, if I can make it work, I'm gonna make it work. I don't get any personal time. I'm always occupied by something or somebody. But I know that mentally, just from how I grew up and where I was raised, that I know that I can handle things that other people can't handle. So I put myself in the back burner to be there for others, whether it's the sounding board, whether it's for training, whether it's for whatever they need me there for.
Travelle, man, this is too easy. Like I said, man, just be expecting, because I know our time is so limited. You're going to jump from one thing to the next. I'm going to tell you this right now. Be expecting a call, man, because we got to figure out how to do this more often. The podcast stuff. It's too good, man.
I really appreciate.
Yeah, man. Thank you for being who you are, brother. You are just such a good human being. And every time I speak with you, I just feel empowered, encouraged, and full of light, man. And that's a testament to the light inside of you. So thank you so much, Travelle, for being who you are and doing what you do for athletes.
Thank you as well. Appreciate you.
This is yet another episode of Level Up with Dr. Mondo. Make sure that you subscribe to this podcast. Make sure that you share this podcast. Someone needs to hear this encouragement here today. And like Travelle said, man, there's going to be people in your life that are going to be speaking things over you that at times you may not believe about yourself. If it's positive stuff, man, you might want to believe them. You might want to give them a shot. What do you have to lose? Travelle Gaines' story, you just heard the cliff notes of, but it speaks to all of that and then some. Travelle, thanks so much for joining us. Until next time.
Thanks again.
It's time to level up with Dr. Mondo.